Thousands of years ago, a man could become famous across an entire kingdom without ever showing his face to most of the people who knew his name. They had never heard his real voice. They had never seen him with their own eyes. Some lived hundreds of miles away, yet they knew the battles he had won, the cities he had conquered, the gods he claimed were protecting him, and the stories people told about his life. There were no cameras, no newspapers, no television, no phones. So how did his name reach them? How did anyone become famous when information could travel only through human memory? Carved stone, horses, ships, and people walking from one town to another. And here is the stranger question. Why do we still remember a few ancient rulers, warriors, athletes, and storytellers today, while millions of other people from the same time disappeared completely? The answer is not simply that they were more talented, powerful, or important. In the ancient world, becoming famous depended on whether other people could hear about what someone had done. Their achievements had to be repeated by storytellers, carried by travelers, or recorded by scribes. And to remain famous after death, their name needed something stronger than human memory. It needed a way to survive. But fame did not begin with kings, monuments, or enormous cities. It began much earlier, inside small groups where everyone knew everyone else. For most of human history, people lived in hunter-gatherer groups containing only a few dozen individuals. In that world, fame was simply reputation. A great hunter became respected because people watched him return with food when others had failed. A skilled tracker could study footprints, broken branches, and disturbed grass, then locate an animal no one else could find. A healer became important because people believed that person understood plants, wounds, sickness, and the spirit world. Storytellers also held enormous influence. Before writing existed, the history of a group had to survive inside someone's memory. Stories explained where the group came from, which places were dangerous, which animals could be hunted, and what had happened to their ancestors. A storyteller did more than entertain people around a fire. That person protected the memory of the entire group. Generosity could also create status. In many small groups, respect did not come from keeping the most food. It came from sharing it. People remembered who fed them when food was scarce. They remembered who opened their hands instead of closing their fists. But this kind of fame had one serious weakness. It could disappear very easily. When the people who remembered you died, your name could die with you. Your story might survive for a few generations, especially if it became part of a legend. But without writing, monuments, or objects connected to your name, almost nothing could carry it safely across centuries. Over time, human communities began to grow larger. Starting roughly 12,000 years ago, some groups settled in permanent village groups. They grew crops, raised animals, stored food, and remained in one place. Villages became towns, towns became cities, and the rules of fame began to change. In a group of 30 people, reputation could spread through ordinary conversation. In a city containing thousands of strangers, fame had to reach people who had never personally witnessed the achievement. Chiefs became known because they controlled land and food. Priests gained influence through temples and religious rituals. Skilled craftspeople and built reputations through pottery, jewelry, and weapons. A craftsperson might never visit a distant town, but an object made by their hands could travel there. Their work could carry their reputation farther than they could travel themselves. Then, humans created something far more powerful than memory. They invented writing. For the first time, a name could speak after its owner was dead. A message could travel without the storyteller. A victory could be remembered without a living witness, and a ruler could decide exactly how future generations would see him. Egyptian pharaohs understood this power extremely well. Their names and images appeared on temples, tombs, statues, and enormous stone obelisks. These images showed the pharaoh as young, strong, and chosen by the gods. Thousands of soldiers might fight in a battle, but on a temple wall, the pharaoh could be shown defeating the enemy almost alone. Writing did not simply preserve themselves, it allowed powerful people to shape it. Hammurabi, the king of Babylon, used writing in a similar way. He carved his laws onto a stone monument, connecting his name with justice, order, and royal authority. Throughout the time people die, memories fade, but stone could survive for thousands of years. Writing, however, was not the only way fame traveled. Poets and storytellers traveled between towns and cities, sharing tales of kings, warriors, and battles, and each time a story was repeated, it could grow. A real victory became a perfect victory. A brave ruler became almost superhuman. Gilgamesh may be one example. He may have been a real Sumerian king, but over centuries, Stories transformed him into a powerful hero who fought monsters and searched for eternal life. His story grew far beyond his real life. Religious teachers and philosophers became known in a similar way. They spoke to small groups, and their followers shared their ideas with others. Later, those ideas were written down. The teacher might already be dead, but the message continued traveling. By ancient Greece and Rome, fame had changed. Athletes competed before enormous crowds. An Olympic champion could return home as a hero, receive a statue, and have songs written about his victory. Thousands of spectators carried his name back to their own cities. Roman gladiators could also become celebrities. Crowds knew their names, weapons, fighting styles, and victory. Their images appeared on lamps, cups, paintings, and walls. An unknown prisoner or enslaved man could become one of the most recognizable people in Rome. But that fame came at a terrible price. One victory could make him famous, one mistake could end his life. Rulers also found another powerful way to spread their names and faces, and that was through coins. A statue remained in one place, but coins traveled constantly between merchants, soldiers, farmers, and travelers. Every time a coin changed hands, the ruler's face traveled with it. He did not need to visit every town. His image could arrive before he did. Across history, the method changed, but the rule stayed the same. Fame needed a story, someone to spread it, and something to preserve it. Most ancient people were forgotten. The ones we remember are those whose stories survive.